All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go through my process here of how I chart out my daily lines that align with my pivots and how I find my entries. And this is something that I learned just from watching Joe's webinar. So you can always go back to his as well to cross-reference. But I think I have a pretty clear way of showing this. So the way my process works in the morning, first thing I do, I always look at the SPY. I just want to see where it's at, if it's gapped down, gapped up, just kind of gives me an overall feel of how the day is going to go. So then the next thing I do is go to my scan. And again, this is the same scanner that I got from Joe. It's my large cap scanner, looking for over $10, minimum of 300,000. I like to see it with like 800,000 or a million once the market gets going, but early in the morning, it's good to scan for 300,000 just to kind of see what pops up. So once my scan comes up, the main thing I use my scan for is to just, it's really, for the most part, it's a sentiment for me to see what sectors are hot. If you looked at the scans this week, the ones that have been hot are like the airlines and cruise lines. So, I mean, that's just been an everyday occurrence, and there has been some good lines to trade off on those. So I'll go over a couple of those tickers if I get into this. So the next thing I do is just go to my charts, and I have my list here over on the left side of the screen. And these are all just tickers that I found that are, there's trades every day on them. They're range trades. There's a lot of people looking at them. You can also go on, the Robinhood track and find ones on there too, because they're always hot and moving. And then if there's earnings, I throw my earnings list on here as well. Earnings have kind of died off now, but these were a few I was looking at earlier. So the first one I'm going to go over is Netflix. And what I'm going to do is go to daily, and I'm going to clear all my lines off of here and pretend that I'm starting with a fresh set. So one trick here to know on Thinkorswim is if you click the mouse wheel, the middle scroll wheel, it'll pop up your drawing deal there, and it's quick to just grab your price level, so you can grab that on the fly. So I start from the right side of the chart, and I work my way to the left, and I identify all my supports and resistance. And I really like this spot here. You can see there's a resistance here, there's resistance here, resistance here, and there's support here. So I know that this is a really good line. And I also try and go off of the close of the body of the candle. I've just noticed that those lines are more respected. So if you see here, you got a body candle, the close here. So I'm going to mark that. And I really mark this really fast. I don't like to think through it too much, because then you just end up overthinking the whole process. So anyways, let me go back through these. So we got a resistance here. Here's a line. Obviously, we have a line here. We have a line here. We have several here, but this is kind of a good midpoint. We have a line here. We also have a line here. We got one here. And if you see here, I'm going to get my annotate. So you have a line right here, and you have a line here. You actually have a line here. You have a support here is what I should be saying. This was at the right at the gap fill. You also have a support right here. So as you can see, this is a strong line. Also, the 420 level right here. This was more or less, there is some lines in here, but it was really just a psychological level that everybody's watching. So I had that on my chart as well. And I would keep going on these. I mean, my charts, when you I'll go through some other ones, but you'll see that they're full of lines. And I leave these lines up and they just stay there. And as the chart develops, I add more lines. And okay, so let's zoom into I use the 3-minute with my pivot lines. On Thinkorswim, you can use the SVE pivot indicator, or you can download the one from MIC. I think they're both about the same. Okay, so here's Netflix, and I'm going to go to Thursday, where we had a nice line hit on Thursday. So I'm going to move this over, pretend like we're still in pre-market. Okay, so my pivot lines automatically print on the chart for the new day. So what I'm going to look for is any areas where my daily line lines up with a pivot line. This line is a little bit too far away, so I wouldn't be looking at that. And also, I think price was somewhere around here when I was looking. So as you can see, we have a line up here at 445. And it does look like it's quite a ways away, but what I like to see is I want to see a panic either to the upside or to the downside, down to one of my lines. So in this case, I'm sure some of you guys remember Thursday morning with Netflix. It just shot straight up. It blew through this line, which was not valid because we have a pivot line there, but it's too far away. So the next level of interest was the 445, 444 line. So this is my line. And if you go back to the daily chart, you can see here's that resistance at 444, 445. And price did blow through it previously, but it's really only blown through it once. So it was still a level of interest that we could get a test on it. So if you go back to my chart here, you can see, so I am under PDT. So I usually, for me, my entry would be probably in between this pivot line and this daily line, just because I only have one bullet in the chamber. But if I had a few bullets to scale into this, I would, let me annotate that again. Start scaling in here, add here, and then add one more here. And Joe uses the $1 risk rule off of the pivot line. But for something like Netflix that has a average true range of $14, it's a $450 stock. You want to give yourself a few dollars of room here, so you just need to size down to adjust for that. That's just the way it is with these ones. So if you look at if it blew through my line here, I would probably be getting out around 447. It very well could come up to this pivot, test it, and sell off, but I'm not going to stick around to hope. So this was a great line. We hit that, and it happened to just end up being an all-day fade, which it doesn't always happen, but today was a good day, or Thursday was a good day for that. So that was Netflix. Let me see here. I'm sure there's some other lines that we can find that have been respected. Yeah, and that's the thing with these. When I have my chart up for the day, the intraday, if there's no daily lines lining up with a pivot, then it's just not a trade on that one. But I have a list over here of 10 or 20 stocks, plus my gappers from the scanner, and then whatever else anybody else in the room may be talking about to look at. So I mean, there really is always a trade. This was a line. No, that wasn't a line. Yeah, this was a good line here. So this is that 420 line, and around that time, everybody that was that time when it was that psychological 420 that everybody was looking at. So um, you can start scaling in here. Get my draw tool. You can start scaling in here. You probably, if it worked out, add another bullet here, and then you got your bounce. Um, it's really simple. It's you don't have to overthink it. You don't have to try and predict which way that you think it's going. I don't, anyways. I notice the more I just don't overthink it and just trust my lines. It could, I don't care if it goes up and hits a line or it goes down and hits a line, unless it's had a big gap pre-market. If it did have a big gap, that's going to change the sentiment. So if it had a big gap down, I'm going to be looking for a bounce to fill that gap, especially on a big name like Netflix. That's the other thing. It's got to be a high beta name that everybody's looking at. Like, for example, I was messing around with TLTR Dollar Tree during earnings, and we did have some lines. We do have lines that are respected here, but it's just there's not a lot of volume. It's slow. It's boring. You don't get that panic down to your level. We had a line there, another line here. So there's shorts on the way down. Let's see what else is on my list here. Okay, so Piton, I've been finding some good shorts on in the morning. Let me undo that. And I do like to have a dollar when price opens up. I like to see my pivot line ideally a dollar away from the open. But I've noticed lately with Piton, there's my daily line pivot will be, what is this, right here. So yeah, see, this is only 50 cents away, but this stock, when it opens up, it pops and rejects right away, and it does it a lot. So here's one example right here. One example there. There. Yes, ended up coming above my pivot line and ranging, and it did sell off. So if you scaled into that and held through that, it would have worked. But that's also the other thing that Joe talks about. If once you get into your trade, and it's not working after a few minutes, it's better just to cut it and wait for another one. It's because a lot of times you'll sit there waiting for it to move, and then it ends up stopping you out anyway. So it's another thing I try not to overthink. If once it hits my line, I want it to start working pretty quick. And if it doesn't, I'll just cut it. And that's just the way it is. I waste a day trade and move on to the next. And that's kept me alive pretty good doing that. Just cut it and move on. Yeah, here's another one on Piton. This 49 level has been pretty good to trade off of. So you can see on this one, let me annotate that. 49 is my daily line, and I have a pivot line right there. And that was a nice one. It hit it perfect. It went, what, 10, 20 cents above my line, and then just panic sold off. Oops. another trade that I took on it, where I was telling you how it opened up kind of close to my daily line and pivot, but it was a good respected trade. It was instantly in the money. I put a order in before the market opened. And I barely even had a chance to see it, and I was already in the money. I think I sold pretty early right here somewhere, but it was still a good trade. So let's look at that 44 line. Go to the daily chart. 44. Yeah, so I had all these support levels here. Get rid of these alerts. And then you have a resistance here on this wick. So it was kind of a medium range here, this whole move. So that was a good line. Let's go to work. Something I've been trading a lot. Here's my daily lines. And you know, actually on this chart, there's a big resistance right at the open of the IPO, right here at 38.40. So I'll go over that line with you that I traded off of it. Okay, so 38.40. Let me go back. This is back before earnings, when I was still playing off that line. And there's also a line at 38. So the first trade was this 38 line, caught a bounce. And it was less than $1 there too. So I guess I break my own rules there a lot of the time, and don't let it do the dollar move from the open. But these have been working out good. So 30 is my line, my median pivot lines right there, and caught a nice bounce. And then the next day, 38.40 right here. So there's my 38.40 that I showed you from the weekly, and that line's been on there for, you know, months. But today, or that day, we had a pivot line right nearby it. I put my order right in between the pivot and the daily, and got filled instantly green, and I sold into VWAP. I don't hold these trades very long. They're, you know, a lot of times they're a 50-cent dollar scalp, you know, so sometimes even 30 cents or 20 cents. If this was closer to 10:30 or 11, and we had seen a long sell off or a panic sell off, and it's clean, it's not a slow trickle down, if I was getting in over here, that right here, it's around 10:30, 11. I may look at this as to hold up to the open, or red green, or high of day or something. It may have more room to move, but when they happen right at the open, sometimes you just get a bounce to VWAP, and then it sells off more, which if I would have tried to hold up to, you know, 40 or something, I would have ended up, it would have been a loser. So I'm okay with taking quick profits. It's kept my win rate pretty high. Okay, let's go to RCL. Yeah, RCL, this was a good one on Friday. It actually gave a couple of opportunities. So let's look at the 62.55 line. 62.55. Yeah. Take that. So right here at this gap, the start of that gap, and then we've also got a little support and resistance sensitive level there. So that was my line. And actually, let me clear this chart, and I'll redraw my lines so that you can see what I'm doing. The good thing is once you get your lines on the chart, they're there for you every day. So when you're flipping through your watch list, all you have to look for is your pivots that are lining up with your daily lines. So it really takes very little effort to find these. Okay, so clear the drawing set. All right, so this was a naked chart. And support resistance here. You can see this resistance with this support off this wick. Bam, right there. So that's the line. Here's my other line that I had 62.55. I'm also going to mark this open of that gap. I got another line here. All these resistance. Got a support here. Mark that out. Got some ton of support off this line, which is the 32 or so line. Obviously, support down here. Very bottom support from back in March. I got a resistance here. That's a good line. This is a really strong line. 100. It's also psychological. But you have supports here. You have this gap right here. I mean, that line's when it gets back up. If it gets back up to 100, that's a very tradable line. Obviously, the high. You can keep going. You got support here, resistance here, resistance here. So, you know, it's still pretty clean. And then we're going to zoom back into our intraday chart. So here with Friday morning, opened up a couple bucks away from our line, so that's good. A little bit of a sell-off, popped right into the pivot, and you can see it hit that pivot dead on, and you would have had a short from the pivot to VWAP, and then it gave another line. It actually it broke up above the high of the day, and I know there's a lot of people looking at it for long, but you can try the short here, and worst case, you put your dollar risk stop, and if it doesn't work, you get stopped out. And this ended up being an over-under. It faked everybody out. We had longs load up above the high day, and then just got completely slammed. So this was a beautiful trade. Let's look at this. So this is an example of when if price opened up too close to our line. So you can see it, and when it opens up too close, a lot of times it just blows right through it. So it's just don't even mess with it. And then, you know, I always have my ATR up in the top left of my screen so that I can see what the range is for the day, because that's another thing you can look at is this, for example, if we see a big sell-off at the open, well, you can see here, it moved about $6, which is also the average true range. You also have a pivot point, a daily line, and then you also have 1030. So there's tons of things in your favor for this to be a reversal for a long to hold up to red, green, high day, etc. So that these are nice setups. See in the panic, the ATR, the average true range is totally expended. You have a pivot, you have a daily line, you have the time of day, 10, 30, 11. It's a recipe for a great long. Most of the shorts I do, I like to see first thing in the morning as well, like Friday. And when it gets the same thing with zombie hour, it gets around 10, 30, 11. The shorts don't work as good. You want to be looking for a long by that time. You know, sometimes these lines don't work, and that's okay. If they don't work, you've got your dollar risk, and you just get stopped out. And like Joe and Val have talked about, it's so important just for me to completely shut off my emotions and have no fear and know what my risk is, what my share size is, so that if I'm risking $1 and I have 100 shares, I'm losing $100 and that's it. And then get stopped out and move on, and no one gives a shit. Okay, Beyond. This one's been good. Here's an example of mine not working. 152.84. Actually, I did trade this. I traded the first rejection, and this is just goes to show you what's important about taking profits quick. So it hit right in between my pivot and daily, perfect, and came down to VWAP, and I took profit. It was a one bullet in, one bullet out, and I was done. And you can see it. If I would have held and tried to, hold and hope for it to get lower, I would have ended up getting stopped out. So that's just something to keep in mind. Yeah, that move was crazy there. Yeah, here's another one. This is probably a good example. So here's my 137.27 pivot. 137.88 is my daily line. And you would have scaled into this trade. And for Beyond, I like to use a couple dollars for my risk, just because of the average true range is 11. Sometimes it's more than that. So you got to give it a little bit of room. So you would have scaled in all the way to the top of your daily line, held for a few minutes, and it ended up selling off and worked out great. I still would have probably taken profit at VWAP, but you could have tried to hold it longer on that one. It's also a little risky because it's getting close to that 1030 mark. So you want to look at taking some profits and moving your stock to break even and protect yourself. Let's see, Save. Save had some good moves. Yeah, this was another just good long setup. So 1840 is my daily line. 18 is my pivot. One good thing about this, first off, is it sold off. You got panicked in the morning. It ranged there for just 20 minutes. Then another panic sell, and I love seeing all those red candles. And the average true range is $2.44. So let's see where that's at. Yeah, see, so $2.69 is where it was at. So it had already expended its average true range. It's another example of it starting to be around 1030. So you have that in your favor too for long. This would be the type of trade I would hold to, at least the high a day if I could, and taking profits on the way up if you can. Yeah, let's look at this 1840 line on the daily. 1840, you got resistance, price broke through and gapped, and it's formed support. You have these couple of days of panic, and there's that 1840 line. It just hit it beautifully. So it's nothing to overthink about, that's for sure. You got your daily lines up, your pivot lines are automatically plotted, so you just got to look for where your daily lines coincide with your pivot points and use your risk accordingly and be a robot. Don't think about it. That was good. There was also a short and a long here one of these days. Yeah, right here. So there's my 1840 line again, which I was able to use before. and 2079 was resistance or something. I'll zoom in here. So there's my daily line, my pivot. Price opened up, quick panic pop, and you've got your limit order already in there, so because you're not going to catch that quick unless you mark it order in. And there, bam, there's your short. I traded this, but I think I took it off at VWAP, so it was it was $1 a share, so pretty decent. Then it came down to my 1840 line, and this is an example of where it's good to scale in, because if you wouldn't have scaled in and waited all the way down for your pivot line, you would have missed the trade and it would have went up without you. At least you would have had a starter here to get going. And that's what I got at ZM. ZM has, I've been trading ZM a lot, especially when I was in the 160s. After this big gap up, I had a little bit of trouble trading it, but here was a good day. There's your 200 psychological level. We can look at that on the daily. Here's 200. It's also support. I'll kind of annotate that a little better so you can see. So price came up, came back down, and bounced. So there's your support, 200 psychological level. And let's go back to intraday. So when you come in the morning, pre-market, bouncing around here, you already have your 200 line marked, your pivot point's already plotted, you put your order in, and you get exactly what you're looking for, a panic down, your limit order set, hits fairly well. You've got your, again, this is a $13 average true range, so you're gonna have a $2 or $3 risk on this, so you gotta size down. Just barely dip below the pivot, and you got a bounce. You could have taken that VWAP rejection for profit, or maybe added back in, I guess. Like I said, I'm under PVT, so I have one bullet, so I probably would have taken this first bounce and sold into VWAP, but you could have got in again here and sold at the mid-range pivot or high a day. So anyways, I think that's about it. This video ended up going longer than I was planning, but hopefully this helps you guys, and obviously let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.